Well, hello, CW.
How's it going over there?
It's going well. Thank you, by the way, for hosting the intro last week. You did a great job.
Intro all by my big boy panty self.
I know. I was so proud of you. It was excellent.
I'm sorry you weren't around.
I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I'll just say that if you ever lose faith, if you ever lose hope, do know that miracles occur. And I witnessed one, and it completely changed my life. And I'll talk about it later, but I just wanted to acknowledge why I wasn't here last week, and thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks to all our first-time listeners. I figure as we grow, we're going to keep getting new people. Like, they're not going to come in on episode 1 like a lot of people. They're going to come in all the time.
That's right.
If you're a new listener to the podcast, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy this episode along with the past ones. And we got some good future ones, too.
And this one's part 2 of Kipp Lennon, which getting a lot of really positive comments on the first one. Very excited about that. Also some other stuff to tell you that we want to hear from you. We want to hear your rock and roll confessions. If you have a confession or a story, go to the contact page at rockandrollconfessional.rocks and send it to us. But CW has more important information about how you can help this podcast.
Yes. We want to thank the newest Patreon members, including Nurse Susan.
Thank you, Nurse Susan. Just a tremendous person. Did so much work with the blood drives and really taught us all a lot. So thank you.
Thank you very much for everything. All of the pledges this month helped us with our website hosting fees. So thanks, everybody. Listen, this is not easy for us at all, but we're just asking if you can do $1 a month. That's $12 a year. If we get to the end of the year, that'll be $12.
We will get to the end of the year.
$1 a month. That's all it is. If you can pledge $1 a month, it will totally save this podcast. Go to our support page on our website at rockandrollconfessional.rocks.
Can you get other support on that page?
Actually, I put something up for people that are of an older age that may not know how to download a podcast.
Hey, that's great.
So if you're listening to this, you've probably already got the podcast, but if you want to know how to put it on there, you can go to the fax page. That's fax, F-A-C-T-S.
Oh, not F-A-X.
No.
I love fax machines.
You can't fax.
When they were FX's machines.
You can't fax a web page. Not yet. Anyway,
on with the show.
I'm really excited about part 2 because, I mean, everything Kipp talked about, I was very excited about. But part 2, I'm a huge Roger Waters fan. I'm a huge The Wall fan. I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan. And this is one of my moments where I got to like goo over things because...
Yeah, you were beside yourself because you were talking to somebody that was in the show
that
was traveling with Roger Waters on this presentation, which is pretty effing fantastic.
I don't know. You saw it. You saw the show. My wife and I were lucky enough to actually see the show in Berlin. And
in Berlin? You saw the Wall? My God. Wow.
Yeah.
That had to have been something because that's where kind of like the Wall was.
Anyway, it was just an incredible show. So yeah, I flipped out. In the episode, we start off by talking about this subject. And
plus, Kipp talks about the band's latest album, Jacaranda Street. And he talks about working with Bruce Springsteen.
Whoa. Bruce. So, without any further ado, because I know there's a lot of people waiting for part 2, so here it is. Enjoy it, and we'll talk to you afterwards.
First of all, I just have to say, I'm so happy to do this. And I've heard your voice on the radio for so many years. And talk about playing catch with Mickey Mantle. It's exactly the same. It's like meeting Bob Coburn or Jim Ladd or anything else. So I know you don't want to dwell on that. But it really feels exactly the same as what I'm describing when I say singing with David or whatever. Because I've heard your voice, and we are Southern California born and raised people. And nothing epitomizes that as much as your voice,
so much.
Any more than your voice.
You know, I think that about Bob Coburn and Jim Ladd, like playing catch, you know, with Mickey Mantle. Yeah. I mean, the fact that I got to work with both of those guys, I can't believe it, and I still hold them in such reverence, I miss Bob dearly, but he's always with me in the studio. I can hear him in my head and laughing, and just what a great
great. He was the first person to play Venice.
Is that right?
In the world.
Oh my God.
The album came out that day, And we were friends with Gino Michelini,
Yeah.
but his shift didn't start till later. And Bob got it and played it. As I recall, Bob played it at lunchtime, whenever that was.
Right. Yeah. 12 noon.
Yeah, 12 noon. And
no, they did like noontime nuggets or specialty shows.
yeah, it was
or
like
he
noontime
had
nuggets
a little
kind
bit
of
of
thing.
freedom at that
And
time.
so I remember being in my car and pulling over and just going like, oh my God. You know, like Brian Wilson, everyone, they all talk about that first moment of hearing yourself on the radio. And he played All My Life. And just to hear him say that was Venice with All My Life and Bob Coburn talking about it, it's like, oh my God, you're kidding me. And then Gino, of course, pushed it and, you know, and Mark and Brian and everybody. But Bob Coburn, wow.
Okay, and then going there, Jim Ladd makes me think of Roger Waters.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're doing this tour.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now that's a funny story because we were, you know, over the years, to get back to what you said about our first album was very hard. And then we kind of started writing more. We lost our record deal and we started getting closer to what the sound is now.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like, let's get back to basics. Let's get back to what our 4 vocals are about and what our songwriting is about and not pretending to be something, but just being what we are and let people find us.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having to go out and convert people and make them think we're this or that. Let people who love what we do, love what we do. And if the others can, it's fine, you know? So we started doing a lot of gigs and building up. You know, there's a place called At My Place on 11th and Wilshire, Santa Monica. We started a big following there and playing the Troubadour and the Roxy. And we did our garage demos. And then we signed with Vanguard Records, which was, the original Vanguard was 1950s and 60s. But Lawrence Welk's grandson, Kevin Welk, was now running the Vanguard label.
Wow.
Okay, I used to babysit him. I mean, literally, I used to babysit him.
There's a connection again.
So there's a connection again. Our family, and if you don't burn bridges and you have a really large family, it's absolutely phenomenal the way it pays off in different ways. Not that it's about money. I mean, literally, like it just keeps giving back to you constantly. That we are good people out in the community. And it comes back to you because those people and their kids and we all just grow up together. So anyway, we signed with Kevin and we did 2 albums on Vanguard, Born and Raised and Spin Art. And that was way getting back to our sound. And it was the 4 of us instead of the 7 of us because the other guys wanted to do other projects and we still use them as musicians. But Venice became the 4 Lennons. Then Decisions became easier. Vision became easier. It wasn't decision by committee. It was the 4 of us, which is different. You know, like you had mentioned, the Everly Brothers and stuff like that. Many people, you know, the Robinson brothers and whatever, they don't get along. The Kinks, but they wouldn't get along if they were plumbers. They wouldn't get along. You know, it's not about people say, oh, music, you know, bands and all that. That's the same thing as saying, oh, you know, the holidays, everybody gets in fights. Well, yeah, if your family gets in fights, they're going to get in fights on the holidays. But our family doesn't, and our family doesn't fight on the road as a band. We have disagreements. We think each other's crazy sometimes, especially 40 years later. You know, it's like you're virtually married to these people. So, you know, there's times when you get in the elevator on your way up to your room at the end of a long gig and you just go, God, those guys are nuts. You know, but we love each other. And we find common ground, and we were taught to find common ground, and that's something you have to be taught. And we were taught that family is the most important thing. So, like the Corleones, we were taught, you know. And so, I have a feeling that, you know, the Davies and the Robinsons and the Everlys, they just didn't. They didn't come from the most functional situation. The Beach Boys.
But you can also feel that in the music at times. And again, it goes back to you guys having such that great connection with each other that you feel like you're like one with it all.
I guess so. I mean, I guess so. I think to some people, and especially critics along the way, it might have seemed too precious or calculated or Osmondy, saccharine, whatever. But you know what? You know, where are they now? And we're still going. You know, currently in the Where Are You Now file, you know, like we just keep going in spite of that stuff because you have to. You just have to keep being who you are. And we know that we're real. And we know that there are songs of ours like The Family Tree that just resonate with people all around the world. And
beautiful song.
And that's, you know,
positive and sad and
And so we just keep going. But in any case, so to get back to your question about Roger Waters, we had developed a big following in Europe because some guy was a huge what they call West Coast music, a fan of West Coast music in Germany, and he heard us on Import, and he signed us to a tiny little label called XYZ in the Benelux. And a guy in Holland heard us who is like a radio TV host guy, or was 20 years ago. Top show,
Like a
MTV
Ryan
Unplugged kind
Seacrest,
of show. Yeah.
Dick Clark
yeah,
at
like
this time.
that, but more like MTV Unplugged.
Oh, okay.
So really cool people were going on his show. And we heard, Los Lobos and, different people when they were going through Europe would go on this guy's show. And the guy called us and said, you've already sold 3,000 records here because of my radio show. I want you to come and do this TV show. So we went. This is in 97, something like that, 98. We went to Amsterdam. We did one show for about 150 people. It was great because they all knew the words. It was like, wow, this is crazy. And then we filmed this Unplugged show at this guy's house the next day and went home. And instantly the power of television just jumped us from nobody knows who we are to millions of people knowing who we are. We weren't superstars, we weren't playing stadiums, but we instantly have gone. Now there's never a show in Holland where we aren't playing for 500 to 5,000 people.
Wow.
Usually in the middle there, somewhere about 1,000 or 900, something like that. But week after week, year after year, 2 or 3 times a year for 20 years. We've been to Europe 50 times or something. And it's the same thing. This is what I was going to get to of what you were saying. Even in Holland, they have a sense of that's real and they feel that. And so they aren't coming because we have the latest hit on MTV. They don't care that we're getting older. They don't care whether we have a hit song on the radio. They want to connect with us. And they want permission to connect with music, and not to get too heady about it. But that's what we provide people. Here's a chance to connect. Let's just all connect. Let's do this together. And so that's what we do. And people keep coming back. And we have a meet and greet after every show for the last 20 years with a line down that sometimes it's almost as long as the show. But we say hello to every single person and we take photos. And they bring photos from when they're kids. Now their kids are coming. Here's a photo of me when I was 5 when I met you guys, And so there's this legacy going on. That's when we get the call about Roger Waters. We're in Europe, and my friend John Joyce called, who's like a mentor to me. He's a session singer from way back. From his dad was the singers on the Smothers Brothers show, and he's been in showbiz all that time. All the jingles you ever heard, all the TV themes and everything. John Joyce and a few of the other guys were doing Partridge Family and all that stuff. So John Joyce was like a mentor to me in the session world. He calls me. He said, 30 years ago, I was one of the singers on The Wall and on the first Wall tour. He had already done a Yellow Brick Road tour with Elton John, and he and a guy named Jimmy Haas and Joe Chimay. And so they got hired to do The Wall because Roger's whole vision of The Wall was, it's the only Pink Floyd album that isn't female background singers. I don't know if you ever noticed. It's the only one that's just male. And
I never thought about it, but it totally makes sense.
Right. And because he wanted it to feel like doo-wop Beach Boys meets Pink Floyd, which you wouldn't think so. But then when you listen to the opening, for instance, of, so you say you want to come to the show. Doop, 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 doop. It's all street doo-wop, all the background stuff in the background.
Wow.
And, Goodbye Blue Sky and all that stuff. It's like street singing. He wanted it to sound like Beach Boys kind of. So he called John and all these people that were recommended to him, and they did the first tour. The only female on it is Tony Tennille singing on Goodbye Blue Sky, if you can believe that.
Oh, that's right.
Isn't that funny?
I don't think I knew that.
That's a weird one. So John said, I just got a call from Roger Waters. We were in Europe at the time. And he goes, I just got a call from Roger Waters. They're doing The Wall again. He wanted me to get the guys back together. But all the guys that I used are retired now. And I told him there's a band of brothers and cousins that are exactly the sound you're looking for. And you should meet them. He said, so Roger's going to fly out to LA when you guys get home. So I'm going to send you these songs and learn these songs. So first we're singing Goodbye Blue Sky and a few different ones on karaoke versions that we got off of YouTube.
Great song.
And we're sending them to Roger. Never met him, never, we know as much about The Wall as regular people, the songs you hear on the radio and whatever, but it wasn't necessarily our strength. It was just like, of course, everyone knows those songs.
Sure.
So Roger likes what he hears. He wants to come out and meet you guys. So a rainy night in Mar Vista, knock on the door, and there's Roger fucking Waters standing at your front door. It's like Thomas Jefferson is at the door. Come on in, sir.
Yeah.
And here's Bugs Bunny. Hey, how are you, Bugs? It's like that. It's really very, very strange feeling.
Yeah.
So he comes walking in. And he's so nice, and he came with John, so that really helped. And we played Goodbye Blue Sky for him.
Acapella?
With one guitar.
Okay.
And it was so trippy because it's like we're sitting here, but it's Roger Waters, and he's sitting on the couch, and he literally just flew in to hear our audition and get back on a plane and go back to New York because he's so busy in production for the wall. So we sing. He puts a DVD on that no one's ever seen. That's from the original tour. That was just his private stuff. I think now it's kind of leaked out, but at the time, no one had seen it.
Well, he played. So, I think there was one clip he played during the show.
Exactly, during the show. It was the same. That same one.
Yeah.
So he starts playing his stuff, and he had talked to us about a couple things, no vibrato on this and blah, 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 but we don't know if he's offering us the gig or, it's literally like your whole world is going to change if this happens. But to him, we're just one piece of the puzzle, and he's thinking big picture. So he's going like, and then you guys will be standing there, and then, and we're like, is he saying we're going to be doing this, So
I'd be in such a fog.
So yes, we were in a fog with Roger, saying goodbye to Roger, and he's leaving.
And you still don't know what's happening.
And we still don't know what's happening, and he doesn't know how important it is to us what's happening, because these people are giants among humans. They literally are a different species. They've been famous since 65.
And he's a
wealthy, and he's a visionary, and he's an architect of what we all listen to.
He knows exactly what he wants.
He knows what he wants, but he's big picture.
Yeah.
So this is like talking to Tarantino about am I going to play the newspaper delivery boy on that scene? Because he's thinking of the whole thing. So he's like, okay, so, we'll be in contact, and, great, good job. And then he leaves. And we're like, oh my God, what's going on? So we waited, I think it must have been 3 or 4 months. And then he had us go into the studio with James, the original engineer.
James Guthrie. Okay.
Great guy. Great guy. And a big fan of Pink Floyd. So it's not some jaded, stuffy Englishman who's, he was just as joyous and happy and kind and great. So now we get to go in. You've never heard this. We get to go in and sing to the original tracks. But I mean, he's going like, well, let's see what David did. And he's pulling up just Gilmore's vocal on like, Comfortably Numb. And now we're hearing something that no one ever hears. And to him, it was literally like digging out archival stuff. And here's Lincoln's, handwriting on this or whatever. It was like that. It was like, are you kidding me? And so now we're singing. We did a whole day of auditioning and doing that stuff. Well, as it turns out, Roger wanted John to be to do it, the original singer. It was a connection for him to the original tour and the album where no one else in the band was. So John sings the bass parts. So consequently, Roger only needed 3 of us. So we all agreed that whatever 3 of us went, we would all give a portion of our income to the 4th one, because that person can't do Venice gigs.
So the 4 of you were part of the group.
The 4 Lennons auditioned.
Right.
But then eventually...
He said he only needed 3.
Because he only needed original
3.
guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as it turns out, after trying us all out in different ways, we realized that the best combination was Pat on top, Mark and I in the middle, and then John, the original guy, as the 4 singers. So Michael stayed home, but we all agreed that he would, because,
I mean,
we can't do that. You can't just,
How diplomatic, but that just shows the family thing again, too. You don't fuck over somebody else like that.
You don't. And who knew that we were going to go from doing 30 dates to doing 220 shows. So consequently, it was a nice, believe me, a very generous payday for all of us. It saved all of us. And it was also great for Michael even staying home. And he worked on other projects and produced other people. And he would come visit us on the road. And
then kind of keep the family connection.
Exactly.
Still. It's important.
Exactly.
It takes a village.
It does. And you got to go back to the family.
Yeah.
Obviously. So it was heartbreaking for us that he missed out on that adventure. But he was part of it as much as we could make him part of it. And we all became really close. So Roger's band was very, very close with Michael as well. Every time he'd come out on the road, we would all eat together. And I remember one time we were all eating dinner at a big table, and Roger ate with everybody. That was his thing. And about halfway through the meal, Roger says, I do believe Michael doesn't know that I know who he is. I think that's what's going on here. And he goes, of course I know who you are, old sport. And he comes up and gives me the bag. It's so funny. He's a really funny dude. Really very dry English humor, but very funny, very acerbic. And so we spent, basically the better part of 4 years on the road with Roger doing these and living a life. I started to blog about it when we first started, and I realized I can't tell the private stuff because you just don't do that.
Right.
The show's exactly the same note for note every night. It's an opera. He wanted it to be like an opera. So nothing changed every night. And all that was left was to talk about private jets and 5-star hotels. And I didn't want it. I don't know. It seems I don't know.
Opulent.
It's just not, it's a glimpse into that world, but after a while it just seems like this is what I did today. holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we stayed at the Ritz. And guess what I did? Guess where I'm going tomorrow? I'm going to Budapest, and I'm staying at the Four Seasons. Like, after a while, so I wrote a nice little, it's a little meaner. So after a while, I stopped doing the blog. Even Roger was enjoying the blog, but I was like, I don't think I want to do this.
Oh, I was going to just ask, because that was like some arenas, some stadiums, but you're doing this all over the world. And it's like you're seeing audiences in, all through Europe, South America.
Originally, it was just supposed to be 30 shows in the States, and that was it. Yeah.
So it's all over the world. It's a universal message.
Yeah.
How did different countries, because I know that they love the music, but were there any countries that really surprised you with how touching and how moving it was?
I think every country to one degree or another was surprising like that because, in America, we tend to know, the big songs on that album. But on the road, the Pink Floyd fans, that range, the demographic was just jaw-dropping. I mean, night after night, you couldn't believe that there was a 14-year-old Russian kid singing every single word to One of My Turns or one of these songs that's like obscure, crying, pumping his fists, hugging his friends, waving flags, lighting lighters. And, the passionate countries are the ones you would expect, the South American countries, Ireland, they're very demonstrative. So it was even more so. Mexico City was just absolutely, there's no way to describe what it's like to be on that stage and be doing like Run Like Hell. And we're all dressed up in our, Gestapo looking outfits. We're getting everyone to clap their hands, and it's like an ocean of arms. And these people are all waving their flashlights, and it was just absolutely incredible. It was really strange to go to Berlin and do that show.
And what surprised me is the show wasn't sold out.
It wasn't?
I looked around the top and I'm like, there's some chunks up there that aren't sold.
Because all those people got down to the floor.
Probably.
those European kids.
Probably.
It's still to this day the top selling solo artist tour of all time. Absolutely remarkable. And thinking that he was going to do 30 shows, and it just kept adding and adding and adding and doing Europe. And it was great. We got to see Russia and South America and Australia and the passion that people feel, the devotion to the themes. I mean, the more you get into it, the more you understand that he's, all that Nazi-looking regalia and all that is really a way of saying that pop stars can get way too powerful and become, megalomaniacal and mass manipulation and all that kind of stuff. So it's really it's an opera about how things can go wrong and too much power can corrupt absolutely and all that stuff. And then
so relevant to today.
Yeah, no kidding.
I can take a gun and shoot somebody out on 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue.
Exactly.
Wouldn't get arrested.
But there's a million stories about that tour. Just incredible things.
You were talking about the blogging and you were talking about the hotels and things, but I'd kind of like to know, when you get to the venue, what is it like? And what is it like on stage when they're building the wall in front of you guys?
Yeah.
And what are you seeing? Because I have, my vision is that you're watching a group of guys putting bricks up with machinery that you have to keep from distracting you while you're singing on top of it. And then all of a sudden there's a point where you're in back of the wall. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe you guys have gone to the break room and you're still singing from the break room.
Well, no, but we're walking around and making each other laugh and doing stuff. That's how it is. In fact, first time Michael saw that, he got so uncomfortable because he didn't get to do the tour. So he never got to that point. Now we're all so comfortable with it. We know exactly where we sing on every song and that we know, we got a couple minutes here. So we can go. And I hang out with Harry, Roger's son, is a great guy, keyboard player. And we're really, really good friends still. Just got a text from him just now, actually. Really great guy. And so we would all hang out and do magic tricks for each other and make each other, let them go back and go, ooh, and then, and then we're not phoning it in. We believe in all that, but it's like a Broadway show. You know when you're needed and when to show up and you nail it. And it was a joy. And we make the other band members laugh and we have certain tricks we do to certain people. And, as soon as the wall goes up, it's a totally different thing. But it was such a joy to see the wall get built because after a while we aren't featured. Now you can really watch people and you're looking through the holes in the wall at everybody. And one night, Robbie Wyckoff, who did David Gilmour's vocals, he would go up on this, 45 foot.
Comfortably numb?
Yeah, uncomfortably numb. He'd go up to the top of the wall, but he wasn't actually standing on the wall. He was standing on a
scissor lift or something?
A scissor lift kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so he would go up and do that. And he would finish, and right before the solo, I've become comfortably numb. And then the lights would go off on him, and a big bright light would go on David Kilminster playing guitar on the other side of the wall. So now Robbie's in the dark, and he would get to look out over the crowd and see everybody. Sometimes it was up to almost 100,000 people. So later in the tour, 200 shows in or whatever, I realized, wait a minute, I've got a wireless mic. It doesn't matter where I am. I could go up on the lift with Robbie. So I go up with Robbie and I'm just sitting behind the wall. Nobody can see me because the wall's like another 3 feet high. And he sings his part. I'm right there with him because I'm doing all the parts with him. When I was a child, I had a fever. All that. I'm doing all the high parts. So I'm just singing with him. And then as soon as the lights go out, he goes, okay, stand up. And then I stand up and we lean out over the wall and we're looking at all these people. And I'm telling you,
God,
those kind
what
of memories.
A moment.
Yeah. And so throughout the whole tour, people were constantly saying, Gilmore says he's going to do one night with us. Gilmore says he's going to do one night. He promised Roger, if he did this charity thing with him, he'd show up and do Comfortably Numb somewhere. So, I mean, practically every time we did. Gilmore's sister-in-law lives in Tulsa. He's for sure going to be here. It was like that. And so about 100 and something shows in, we were playing
the
O2.
Oh,
and then we heard that Gilmore was going to do it.
So you knew in advance it was going to happen, I would presume.
But he wanted to come see the show first. So we're all staying at the Savoy. And we come down, normally we meet in the lobby and then we get in the van and we go, but usually Roger's not with us. Or if he is, he's in his own car. He's a busy dude. But the whole band meets in the lobby. We come out of the lift and there's Roger and David Gilmour and, not Nick Mason.
Richard Wright?
No, drummer.
Nick Mason.
Nick Mason. Yeah. Right. Okay, yes, it was Nick Mason. So the three of them are just standing there talking.
Probably for the first
It's like,
time
for the first
in a
time in a
while.
long time.
God.
But they look like old school chumps.
Yeah.
And every night, the traffic is so bad in London that every night we would walk out behind the Savoy Hotel to the Thames, and they have their own dock, and you take a boat to the gig. So it's really cool because there's no traffic.
Nice.
And Roger would say, we did a gig there, and that's where we first did, it was really trippy. And so the night they were there, it was so weird because we all get on this boat and we're with Pink Floyd on this boat. Of course, they're not sitting together. They're all sitting with their wives and they're off. They're not even talking. But to us, we're just like, it was so crazy. So then we get there. David Gilmour had come the night before that and seen the show, and we all met him at the after party. But Roger didn't even go to the after party. Who knows what that was about? But it was nice to visit with David, and he was just, as you can imagine, absolute gentleman, absolutely humble and sweet and supportive of what we were doing and complimentary and just a good dude. So by the time we were on that boat the next day, we felt like we were comfortable with him. We go to do sound check. They rig him up with his amp and his guitar and everything to go up on a center elevator because now he's the guitar player and the singer, way up there for Comfortably Numb. And he's nervous and his fingers hurt because he hasn't played guitar in a while. He's got this guitar he's got Hendrix's guitar strap from the Isle of Wight festival.
Oh, wow.
That his wife got him for a birthday present or something. Anyway, it's a different land that they live in. So, but couldn't have been nicer. And so then we do the rehearsal. Roger's out front watching. He's out front anyway when we do that. He does, hello, is there anybody in there? He's out in front of the wall. And then it cuts to, David up on top. Well, we're behind the wall at that point in the show. And it was so amazing to hear David go, there is no pain. And it's Gilmore because there was no announcement. There was no anything, but we're in London and the crowd, it was like a jet engine. The crowd, and Robbie's great. The guy who did Gilmore's vocals. He's a great singer and a great guy, but it's Gilmore,
right?
And all of a sudden, there is no pain, you are, and it was like this, the whole room just elevated. And so now I'm basically doing a duet with David Gilmour, and I'm 45 feet below him and about 100 feet over, but I'm looking up and watching him because I want to match, because he sings it different than the record now.
Yeah.
He has different incarnations. In fact, right before the show, at dinner, I said to him, can we go over what you're going to sing, because you sing it differently depending on which YouTube video I watch. And he said, yeah, why don't you come to my dressing room?
Oh.
So I went to his dressing room, and it's just David Gilmour and me and one of the guitar players from the band just strumming and singing, and he can't remember the words, and he's singing and I'm doing harmonies with him. It would, talk about Mickey Mantle moment. So we go to do the show. We do the first chorus and we just nail it, and I'm singing all the high parts with him. Then it goes to the next verse, just a little pinprick and all that. And then it goes back to, there is no pain. And I'm singing with him, and I realize really quickly he's going to do the first chorus again by accident. He's not doing the one about the hands. He does, when I was a child, I had a fever. I don't know. Anyway, he does the wrong words, but I realized quickly that he's doing that, and so I just sing the wrong words with him too, so that he doesn't. Because otherwise, it would just be a train wreck.
Right.
And the moment is so happy that no one probably, people know because it's like religion to them. But it was still great. And afterwards, the next night, Roger comes up to me at dinner, and you never know what Roger's going to say when he comes up to you. You could be fired, or you could have done a great job. The king has just walked over to your little hovel. And, who knows what's going to happen. And he puts his hand on my shoulder. And he said, I saw what you did last night with the old man. Well done.
Wow.
Well done.
Oh.
And it was like, oh,
to get a compliment from him.
He said, you stayed with it.
I want to know what you saw in David that you could recognize.
I don't want to get pretentious about it, but there's a feeling you can have when you're singing with someone. It sounds pretentious no matter how you slice it, but there's just a feeling you can have when you're singing with someone where you just kind of know what they're doing, and I could just feel it, and I just went with
because if your
gut.
assumption had been wrong, it could have gone.
Well, I mean, maybe I was a millisecond behind, but not enough for the audience to know. But you know what I mean?
No,
I think that must be what it is. It's not like I'm prescient or anything, but it's just like, I don't know. You just get a feeling.
Yeah.
And so you just go with it. And it was really fun. Then at the end, we all walked out, when the wall comes down and we do that last song together, all alone or in twos. But this time we're singing with Gilmore and with Nick Mason right next to me playing tambourine.
And Nick Mason's there too.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And Roger sort of gave a public apology almost, for what a gruff and, grumpy person he used to be and how much he appreciates these men and what we did together. It was really cool. It was really... humbling and great and amazing. But there's so many stories from on the road.
Jeez.
Did
Roger ever talk about the play in New York? We had heard rumors of that.
About doing a play of the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah. He discussed a lot of stuff. We're thinking about maybe doing this, maybe do a Vegas run, blah, blah, blah. But none of it was we were never privy to whether
Would you do it?
He was going to do it.
Would you be interested?
We would do anything he wants in a heartbeat. He treated us great, and it was a good joy to work with all the band. But then he moved on to a new band. He did a new tour. That's the kind of artist he is. There was we knew we had a short shelf life.
Yeah.
Because that's how he is.
4 years of your life.
4 years,
that's
exactly.
Not
220 shows. That's a hell of a shelf
huge.
life.
Yeah.
It is. It is exactly that. And we got to see the world, and everywhere we went, people wanted us to be there. So, hey, you want to go a private tour of the Hermitage in St. Petersburg? Sure. Well, that kind of stuff was like, days off was just, we're just amazing because you're getting to see Sao Paulo and Buenos Aires and
without having to wait in line and not having
all
the e-ticket. It's like, oh my God.
Cool. The only bummer really was just that when you stay, this sounds really snobby, but when you stay in 5-star hotels, you're usually not in neighborhoods. You're usually staying in the Beverly Hills of that city. Yeah. So you walk out and you're just,
it's like,
it's just Prada and
you don't see the realness.
The realness. So you have to go away from the hotel in order to see that. But we did. We always did. Go swimming and go shopping and, visit places. And we would just look at each other like, this is crazy. This is our life. Harry and I would, every time we would start a new leg, we would start rehearsals again. Like if we're in Perth and now we're doing Australia, we'd start rehearsals for a couple days. And Harry and I would grab the cruise skateboard and go on the empty, like the concourse, like where they sell the fast food and everything at the arenas.
Yeah.
That big, wide open concourse when there's nobody there. And we would just fly on our skateboard and go in between the pieces of the wall and stuff.
That's cool.
Really trippy.
Did you get a brick as a souvenir?
I got a piece of a brick. I have it at my house, signed by everybody.
That's nice.
That's awesome. Now Harry plays. Harry
plays B3, the organ, and the keyboard. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was great. And I love the hair.
He lives in Santa Monica. Yeah. He lives in Santa Monica now, and he's in England right now. But we see each other a lot.
Yeah.
All right, Hick, you're done. Thank you. Thank you.
Come
back up here.
Hey, puppy. One question I really got to ask, just about, because your voice is your instrument and you use it and you still have it and you've been able to use it for so many decades. What do you do for your voice?
I think it's a weird time. I'm 59. I'll be 60 in March. And it's a funny thing because we have a cover band. Okay. We have Venice, but about 25 years ago, we started a cover band for fun, just to remember why we started. And we started playing on the boardwalk and making up lyrics if we didn't know them, and segue and mashups and everything else, just for fun. And we literally didn't have a name. And Scotty, our drummer at the time, who's now with the Eagles, he was our roommate. And there was a box of Pine Mountain logs next to the fireplace, and he said, "We're the Pine Mountain Logs." We needed, literally, the bar owner was saying we need a name, so we became the Pine Mountain Logs 25 years ago, and we have been ever since. And now our following with that band rivals Venice. We play clubs down in San Diego and stuff where people are scalping tickets even sometimes. So everything sells out because it is a celebration of baby boomer music, but without being too precious about everything. We're mashing up crazy things that don't work together, but it's really fun, and we sound like people, and we fuck around, and it's 3 hours of permission to just go nuts, and it's really fun. But it's not just a bunch of us standing there doing YMCA, and it's not a gimmick. It's like this great thing where they hand you the keys to this Ferrari, and you get to it's like ultimate karaoke, but in a really cool way, because the audience is part of the karaoke and everyone's just going bananas. So we're doing Earth, Wind and Fire and Zeppelin and Stones and Beatles, and everything's crazy mashups and crazy things. We're tricking the audience constantly because we're trying shit that doesn't go in that song. And then people go like, whoa. And, so we've been doing it for 20 something years. So we have a really huge following as that. So my point being, I'm singing songs by people like Steve Perry and Bon Jovi and Boston, where I know that the original singers can't sing that anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'm older than them. And I'm thinking, if I'm older than these guys, why are they not able to sing these notes anymore? And so, genetics must play into it for whatever that is. But we're really religious about taking care of ourselves, resting the day after a show, warming up for everything, warming up for every sound check, everything, drinking only water on stage, no alcohol. People can party on their days off or whatever. I don't happen to do that, but that's just not my deal. But for the life of me, I can't figure out why more people don't preserve.
Yeah.
You get your Tony Bennett's and you get people like that who are still just bringing it and singing great and singing really high. John Waite the other night, amazing.
Yeah, he
original
sounded great.
Keys. Everything was in the original keys.
Yeah.
Most people, even artists that I really, really admire, you go see them, and if you can hear that they're doing it a step down from the original recording. But some people do everything in the original keys, and they're still great. And I'm not quite sure. We respect it. I think that's what it is.
There's no magic potion.
There's no magic. There's definitely not a magic potion.
Okay.
But I like to think of it as being like a professional tennis player. Well, no one would expect you to be playing at pro level at 60 years old. And yet you're singing the same stuff that you were singing in your 20s. You have to, these are muscles, and you got to warm up, and you got to cool down, and you got to take care of your shit, because
you got to keep practicing and keep using them.
Keep using it.
Yeah.
Because if you stop, it'll go away. And I don't want to be wobbly, and I'm not saying who, but there's a lot of major superstars who are now getting older, and and it's
there's a lot that shouldn't be out there performing anymore, because it's very sad to see them not at their peak anymore.
Yeah. I mean, as they say in the sports world, time is undefeated, so there is a level of that. At some point, you're an old person, and your muscles are not what they used to be, so you're not going to be able to hit everything. But it's cool, the ones that get pretty damn close. Steven Tyler's still bringing it. A lot of people are still just...
Oh, yeah.
Graham Nash still just sings like a bird. And,
love to hear him.
Yeah, so good.
I just was going to quickly go over the new album. This is Jacaranda
Street. Yeah.
Came out spring of this year, of 2019?
Yeah, kind of. Well, I get confused because when it's released in Europe and when it's released here are different. So it just kind of came out this year, let's say.
Okay.
We recorded it last summer. It was funny because we were doing a bunch of shows in Europe. And we were like, we're going to be back in November promoting our brand new album. And we'd walk off stage and go, we don't even have one song. We don't even have one song. But sometimes some artists are like that. Some people work, diligently every day. And then some people, you kind of wait till you have an album due. And then you're like, okay. Where are all those ideas I've been scribbling? Where are all those little notes in my phone? You know? And that's more the way we are. In fact, one time we were playing the Telluride Music Festival, the Telluride Festival, and I happened to be walking by, there's stages everywhere, and in a park was a bunch of people, all these famous songwriters, and a bunch of Nashville type writers, and Sean Colvin. So I just sat down in the park, and I just was listening to their interview, and it's all about the craft of songwriting, and people are going like, no, what is your, how do you write songs? And each one of them, as they're working towards Sean Colvin, is like, well, I get up at 9, I work until 11:30, I take a break for lunch, and then I work from 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock every day. And I make sure I write at least one song every day, that kind of stuff. And they're just working, and I'm just thinking like, oh shit, I'm just not one of those people. And I get to the end, and Sean Colvin goes, well, I hate to disappoint you, but I basically wait until my manager calls and says I have an album due, and I write 14 songs. And she goes, that's just the way I work.
Yeah.
She goes, I wasn't in my hotel room last night writing songs. I was in my hotel room watching Grease 2, and it was terrible. And I watched the whole thing. And you could hear all the people cheering. They were like, yay, let's hear it for the regular people.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the way Venice is. You know, we live, we write down little ideas. Michael has a lot of musical ideas, you know, in his phone, or Mark scribbles stuff, you know, same with me. And then we sort of we convene, and then Mark will go, you know, remember that old song, blah, blah, blah. I got this idea of doing one kind of like that, but, you know, and then we help him tweak his idea and pick a key, and Michael starts playing, because Mark and I don't play any instruments, but we're very, very collaborative. So this time around, what was great was we got a drummer from Holland who is in a tribute band called the Dutch Eagles, and they do way more gigs than we ever do. They make a fortune over there in Holland. They do really well. They're a really good band. And but we used him as our drummer in Holland on the last tour, and we realized we were very simpatico. We were with the same kind of influences and same kind of hang, and he's just a great dude. So we didn't really know if he was even a songwriter, but we said, do you want to come to LA and write songs with us? Because sometimes you just need someone in the room who's not you to turn left instead of turn right, or to create a vibe. Or maybe because you know someone's listening, you'll go like, you know, it's just, it changes the vibe. And if it's the right person, it's great. So it was the four of us and this guy and our bass player, Mark Harris, and the drummer's name was Andre Kemp. And we would all just sit around. We set up in Marky's living room in Venice with live mics, and we just started proposing ideas to each other. And the whole trick is, you know, I remember Phil Collins once saying, if you're writing a song with someone, you need to be able to be naked in front of them. And you know, and you really do. You really, really do.
For vulnerability?
For vulnerability, because otherwise there's no point in even doing it.
Yeah.
If you're just going to be reserved and sort of write a song, you'll just be writing a song by committee and it'll be a bore. But if you say, guys, I've been having this feeling, like for instance, this song, Middle-Aged Lullaby on the new album.
Yeah.
For me, it's the most, they're all very personal. The ones that I wrote are very personal to me on this album, but that one in particular really hits a certain thing, because I've just noticed people of my age everywhere I go are talking about waking up at 3:00 in the morning, about everything, about your kids, about your legacy, about decisions you made over the years, regrets and fears, and, you know, and you're just staring at the ceiling and you can't go back to sleep. And
that explains a lot of my problems.
And so,
at least there's an answer.
Well, so I was talking with my girlfriend about it, and she said, you know, I think you should write me a lullaby, because I'm not sleeping very well and I need a lullaby. And then I thought, oh my God, middle-aged lullaby. What if there's a lullaby for grown-ups instead of just for kids, which takes on a whole different kind of thing. It's not like that Kenny Loggins lullaby for a little kid feeling. It's a different thing. It's kind of like checking in with people our age and going like,
Speaks to
I feel it too. And so I scribbled down a bunch of ideas. And then when I told the guys about it, they were like, wow, this is such a cool idea. And so then it literally goes from that to Michael playing something on the piano, because I tell him about the lyrics and it gives him an idea. Oh, what if it's this kind of song? What if it's kind of like Wasted Time or Desperado, that kind of feeling, you know? Oh, and let me say for the record, we have never been a retro band. We've never been trying to sound like the Eagles or trying to sound like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. We are influenced by those things.
Absolutely.
But we're not ever going like, oh, let's do one that's just like, you know, because there's just a dead end.
It's already been done.
It's already been done. And yet there are people who would throw us into that basket. You know, or they call us West Coast music or Southern California music. Fine. It's where we're from, and you can hear it somehow. I don't know why, but we grew up with the same influences as people in New Jersey. You know, they were listening to Steely Dan and Fleetwood Mac and Crosby, Stills, Nash as well.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just a generational thing more than it is a geographical one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, it sort of seeps through everything we're doing a little bit, but that's okay. I'll carry that torch. I mean, we're happy to carry that torch, but we're never trying to sound like these people, in spite of what maybe some other people might think about us. But anyway, so then we sit and we come up with the song, and then all of a sudden something switches and you go like, that's what this song is. That's the vibe. That's the chorus. And then we all just work, and we're all just sitting around in trunks and t-shirts and jumping in the pool and going to the beach, and, you know, like, right after I said we're not a couple.
So I want to say, you're not naked anymore, right?
And we're not naked anymore. Sometimes.
Got your swim trunks on.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So this album was funny. We more were feeling like, oh, we got to write a new album. You know, like we've done a lot of songs and a lot of albums, and you never know when one is going to suddenly light a fire under you. And this one very, very quickly started doing that. It was like, whoa, okay. And then like, for instance, for me, Jacaranda Street was a song about my mom talking about how she lived on a street called Jacaranda Street in LA somewhere. And my mom had this crazy life when she was a kid where she went to 33 different schools by the time she graduated high school.
Wow.
So she didn't really get to make friends, and she didn't.
And was it true about her dad being a bootlegger?
Yeah, all of it was true.
Is that why she moved around so much?
Because
he's running?
Her dad was on the run, on the road a lot, and her mom, and they were divorced. So her mom was other places, so she'd go back and forth between crazy 1920s,
wow,
1930s, 1920s. And so all that stuff is true, but it's what I remember. I didn't ask any of my brothers and sisters how much of it was, I just remember my mom saying that Grandpa used to go in and talk to all the cooks in the Chinese restaurant. He would speak to them in Mandarin Chinese. And I was like, okay. So I put it all in there because it was all about this woman taking this crazy life and turning it into a 24-hour-a-day mom in a home for all of us. And what kind of special person can do that, And even though it's very specific, Leonard Cohen used to say, the more specific you can be with your lyrics, the more people will relate to it, which doesn't seem to make any sense. It seems like, oh, yeah, but I didn't grow up, across the street from a theme park or, whatever the specific lyric is. And yet something about being specific taps into, oh, this is real. And so you can feel that it's real. And then you identify with whatever it is that you have in your life that reminds you of that or whatever it is. Because anybody can write a song about, like in the book that I was reading with Leonard, the interview with Leonard Cohen, he was saying, anybody can say the wind blew through the trees. But if you say the wind blew through the sycamores, it changes the sentence because it makes it specific, and it means you really were there and you really remember the sycamores. And you didn't just say the wind blew through the trees, which is perfectly acceptable and perfectly fine and perfectly bland, perfectly cliche. And so we always strive to say something in a different way than it's been said, if we can.
You almost give it a smell too. Like you do. Jacaranda, and then you have a song on there called Lavender.
Yeah, lavender.
So it's like that whole
Instead
purple
of,
thing.
you can just say purple.
Yeah.
And then it's not the same, but
my love waits for me. Then you hear every color in that one.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting to me.
Well, Mark wanted to very subtly hint at being gay and having a life of being gay, and yet the song wasn't about being gay. It was about wanting to meet someone and fall in love again because his long-term relationship didn't work out. And so he thought, well, what if I did it in a different way so that more people could identify with it? And it just sounds like someday I'm going to meet my love. But what if I name all the colors of the gay flag? So that's what that actually is.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
I questioned that in my mind because I wasn't sure of, the whole meaning of the song, but it totally,
it's cool,
it totally fits, and it's such a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Songs like Stepping on That Bridge, one of my nieces, when I was going through my marriage, breaking up, one of my nieces who's a Buddhist, she said, in Buddhism, I kept saying, but what if, and how do I know, and how can, And she said, sometimes you just got to step on the bridge, even if you don't know where it's going. And that's what Stepping on That Bridge is about. Mm-hmm. It's about, like, I don't do well with change, but I don't do well without change. So I got to do this, So I guess I'm just going to take a leap of faith, even though I'm not that kind of person. And we'll see where it goes. And then it segues into 27th Avenue, which is a song about ending up on 27th Avenue, which is where we all have gone to the beach, where Marky asked me to join the band, where I ended up in an apartment on 27th Avenue in Venice Beach. Yeah. And it's where it's where everything happened. Where we grew up, way before we were ever a band. That's the beach we went to. Our first band photo was taken in front of the building I'm living in now. Like, you can see my building in the background.
Well, let's not give it away.
At the time. Yeah, isn't that funny?
If you want to visit Kipp, get the first album.
So, in any case, this album, even though it's very, very personal, we've been really happy to see it's been resonating with a lot of people, because albums like Born and Raised and Spin Art, the more personal you get, like Family Tree, the more universal it becomes somehow. It's very strange.
Well, everyone can relate to that. I mean, that's such a deep song. And the fact that you've got so many family members, to me, I got to believe like a family reunion is like Coachella for you guys, because there's got to be
it kind of doesn't
hundreds
happen.
There's hundreds. How many?
I don't even know now. I think it's about 400.
Did John ever make it there?
No, I wish. Some Lennon sister fan traced us back to the same county in Ireland as John Lennon,
right?
But
somehow
I suppose with ancestry and all that, somebody could probably tie it all together.
Absolutely.
But wouldn't that be neat?
Oh yeah, I believe it.
I met Julian just for 2 seconds at the Coliseum when we played with Roger Waters. G.E. Smith introduced me to Julian.
Oh wow!
And oh my God, G.E. Smith, what a great guy. What a great guy to be in a band with. And the stories, just for days. He was married to Gilda Radner.
Yeah.
He was the musical director of Saturday Night Live. So between those two things and touring with Dylan and Bowie, his stories and Hall & Oates, oh my God, the stories are just, I can't even tell any of them, but they're amazing. Although he did tell one where he got on a plane, they were late for a plane, they were in first class touring with David Bowie, and he had his guitar with him, and there was nowhere to put it. It was nowhere to put it. And the stewardess, or the flight attendant was telling him, "I'm sorry, sir, but you're going to have to check this because there's no room." And G was freaking out because it was like his favorite. It was like a great guitar. And David Bowie could see him from across the aisle, and he gives him this little look like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Come over here." So G goes over to David Bowie, and he goes, "What's going on?" And he tells him what's going on. David says, "I'll take care of this. Just give me the guitar." He goes, "Just go back to your seat." So he sees David Bowie turn to a different flight attendant and say, "Excuse me, Elvis Presley gave me this guitar, and it's my favorite guitar. And do you think I could put it up with the pilot?" And they said, "Absolutely, sir."
Yeah.
They put it up with the pilot. And he gives G the thumbs up, like, "Yeah,
that's great. That's beautiful.
Isn't that great?"
I love it.
That's
It was
awesome.
really funny because we went with GE and the singers. We went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when we were in Cleveland. They gave us a little tour, and there was a wall exhibit there of the one from 1980.
Yeah.
And it was so weird because nobody in the building knew who we were. Everyone's just walking around, just like we're just regular Joe Schmoes. And we're looking at all this thinking like, we're doing this right now. And we're part of this legacy. And John, who's standing right next to me, is on the video on the little TV.
Oh my!
And we're just quietly going like, wow, this is really, really trippy. And GE was like, we're doing that right now. This is a really lucky life. He's a great guy. Great stories. Great everything. Really good dude.
What would you say to your 11, 12-year-old self?
Wow. Apple stock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buy stuff on the boardwalk. Buy property on the boardwalk. No. I guess I would say, I'm still trying to figure it out. I guess what I would say that you're going to be 60 and you're still not going to have figured it out. But music will give you a great life. And maybe I would work a little harder at it or be in hindsight, I'm thinking maybe there's some stone that was left unturned and maybe that's why we didn't hit the big time. But at the same time, we've had a really good long run and a good strong thing, And I remember one time Jackson Brown telling me, sorry, I dropped a name there, but I was lamenting to him, and this is 25 years ago, about the breaks we didn't get, the Fleetwood Mac tour we almost got and didn't, and all that stuff. And he said, Kip, I hear what you're saying, and I would feel the same way if I was in your shoes, and there's no way for me to convey to you what life is like on my side with hits and all that. He said, but I can tell you that there are many, many, many of us who would give everything we've got to be doing what you guys are doing, which is to have a modicum of success and people waiting for your album to come out. But you can still take your kids to Disneyland and you can still be home for Christmas. You don't have fake relatives coming out of the woodwork that need your money, and you don't have people going through your trash, and you don't have, you don't have all the downside, and you have all this upside of enjoying the music for all the reasons we got into it. But you're not spoiled by the wealth. And, he said, just try to appreciate the different kinds of wealth there are in the world, and that you have a certain kind of wealth that many billionaires would give half their fortune just to be able to do. And it's kind of stuck with me all these years, when I see how hard we laugh at stuff, or when I play it, when we do shows and there's thousands of people and they're singing along, and I think, okay. Or someone sends me an email and they go like, I just want you to know, some longtime fan, just want you to know, my teenagers are listening to your new album right now. And now your music is going to be summer to them. Summer of 2019 is going to be that new album. And I'm thinking, it'll still be nice to, make a couple bucks here and there, but, we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do.
Wow.
It's all good stuff.
It's all gratitude.
Anyway, but more than anything, we're really gratified that it's very gratifying that this new album.
It's a wonderful, really wonderful album.
And where can people get this particular album?
All the usual digital music.
VeniceTheBand.com?
VeniceTheBand.com, but you can also do, Apple and, all those names we don't want to say. CD Baby, Spotify, Pandora, all those ones where we get a penny when you buy the album.
That's
if we're lucky.
That's it. On Spotify and all that.
Yeah. Have you not seen those statistics?
I didn't know it was a penny.
Oh, it's you don't buy albums on Spotify. You rent them. You just listen to them.
Yeah.
And David just told me this the other day. something about, like The Birds was played 500 million times last year, some crazy thing.
What, they got $5,000?
No, and they got like $5 or it's madness. It's madness. If you look online, you won't believe the statistics. It's jaw-dropping. It's the dark ages for songwriters. The only way you make your money now is on the road, or if you sell at live gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, we sell CDs and people thankfully buy them.
Yeah.
But most people don't have anything to play it on anymore.
And so many cars are not having CD players anymore.
So it's hard. It's hard to have. You have a product and you don't know what to do with it.
You do the vinyl thing though, right? Because it seems like
we have over the years, not all the time, but I would love to do vinyl of this album.
All right, we have a couple bonus round questions.
Okay.
These are fast and furious.
I'm ready, sir.
Okay. What was your first concert you went to?
Anaheim Stadium. Opening act was Gentle Giant, then Gary Wright, then Peter Frampton, then Yes.
Wow.
And it was unbelievable. And it was right when Frampton Comes Alive had just come out, but he wasn't headlining yet.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. He gets thrown in with all those pop teen idol kind of things, and he was such a badass.
Oh, he was
such an amazing player.
Amazing.
And I got to work with him. My first session ever on my 18th birthday.
Oh my God.
He was on a TV show called Black Sheep Squadron.
Yeah.
Or Baba Black Sheep,
Yeah.
And he was playing like an Englishman who was stranded on a Pacific island. And I played a young soldier or whatever, but I wasn't in it. I mean, some actor was playing that, but the guy couldn't sing. So they sang a little duet. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. And then he did God Save Our Noble Queen, whatever. It's just this little moment. But the actor couldn't sing even a little bit. So they called me in to dub in this guy, watch this guy's lips and do it. I was 18 years old.
Wow.
And it was my first session. I joined the union because of that gig. And Frampton was there, and this was 78, so it was still like, within 2 years of Frampton Comes Alive, and still we're friends because of that. Like, if I ever run into him, he remembers, hey, Kipp, how are you? And so anyway, so that was my first concert, and it blew my mind, and still, I just said this 3 nights ago. I walked out of a gig, I was doing a gig in San Diego, and there's a club called the Belly Up Tavern.
Oh, yeah.
It's great, we play there all the time. So I was walking out the back doors, and somebody was smoking pot out there. There was some, I don't know. First of all, I'm such a baby boomer that I call it pot. My kids would tease me. No one calls it pot, Dad. They call it weed. They call it weed now, or they call it a million other nicknames, but nobody says pot. Right away, you're an old person if you say pot. But anyway, someone was smoking pot, and it was a reggae band or something. And I told the musician right next to me, I said, there is not a time that I smell that I don't go instantly back to Anaheim Stadium smelling that. That was like my first
cloud that hovered above the audience.
And the laser show, and Yes was in their prime, man. So it was great. It was great.
That's cool. All right, Reeds.
You've mentioned some influences, but another influence that you haven't mentioned today that really inspired you.
Influencing the band or influencing me as a writer? Let's see. Who do I listen to? Well, because we grew up in such a multi-generational family, we grew up with lots of influences.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds bizarre, but I was listening to classical music and Al Jolson and big band music. Glenn Miller was huge in our house. And Broadway show stuff, from the 50s and 40s and 60s, all through there. All of that, Jesus Christ Superstar, all of that was just as prevalent in my life. And TV themes and TV commercials, all that. It was all part of the mix. So even though you might not hear it in Venice music, funk music, Stevie Wonder is just huge in our lives. And Steely Dan could not be a bigger influence musically on us and on me. And personally, I don't know, I've already said Joni Mitchell so many times, but there's like Joni Mitchell and then there's everybody else, as far as I'm concerned.
The reason why I gave up guitar and writing.
I got to meet her one time just for 2 seconds. Literally, I was friends with her husband, Larry Klein, and they were standing in line for the movies.
Oh my God.
And I didn't even know she was there. I just went, hey, Larry. And he went, hey, Kipp, do you know Joan? And I was like, anyway. So
what a songstress. She's amazing. But, and then the chords that she played on guitar. It's like, I can't do it.
So I would say, Jackson Browne. And then certain songs, Heart of the Matter and things like that just moved me, still to this day.
What was the craziest thing that ever happened on tour?
One time. We have so many. We've been doing it for so long. There's crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But one time we were playing for about, I don't know. It was tens of thousands of people. It's a festival in Holland called Park Pop, and there's about 100,000 people there, but they keep going back and forth between two stages. So you get around 50 to 60 for your show, and everyone's sort of... So we were playing, this is about 15 years ago, and we were playing after somebody... Anyway, right before George Thorogood. No, we were playing after George Thorogood. That's what it was. Because he was so loud that a lot of people left. We were playing for about 40,000 people, something like that. And it was on national television with all these cameras everywhere. And they told us, we're going to film like the first three songs, and then you won't be on TV anymore, but we'll film the rest of the show so you can have the footage, which I would kill to have now. I don't know where it is. But so we finished up for fun. Sometimes, like Springsteen, we like to throw in cover tunes at the end of our show because there's something really communal about it, and it's really cool. And people have challenged us about it for years, but we don't care. There's something that happens when you throw in a cover tune at the end. If you do it well and you make it your own, but you still pay tribute to it. So we were doing I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, right? So everyone's going crazy. And my cousin Marky, who's right next to me, he's wearing these cheap ass mariachi pants that he got downtown. These black pants with like the little silver horses all the way down. And so he's been stretching. He's all limber because there's this thing that we do at the end where we go, oh, baby, give me one more chance. Ha! To show you that. And when we do hot, we would all do this big kick, right? So he's thinking, I'm going to turn and I'm going to kick right towards the camera. And so I'm not watching him. We're doing my own kick. And then all of a sudden, the music kind of sounds a little different. We're finishing. It's the crescendo of the whole show. We're finishing. I look, the drummer's laughing so hard that he can't play, and the bass player can hardly play because he's laughing so hard. And I look at Mark, and he's just sort of going like this, and he's singing, but I don't know what's going on. And Michael's going like, what? I don't know. So we walk off. Thank you. We walk off, and I go, what happened? And Mark goes, look. And his pants had ripped from his knee across his crotch to his other knee. And he had no underwear on. And he had turned right to a camera and kicked towards the camera. But it happened so fast that no one really saw, because it was just like, whoa, hey, So we go, he changes his pants. We go to the meet and greet. We're meeting people. And now our crew starts showing up. And they've been to the truck with all the cameras, with all the different camera angles, and they're weeping with joy. So we finished doing the meet and greet, and we walked to the truck, and we know a lot of the crew because we've done a lot of TV shows by then in Holland, and everyone's, they're just like, they're, hugging each other. They're laughing so hard. So he goes, okay, first let's see it in regular motion. So we watch it, and there's a perfect angle of Mark, and you see something, but you can't really tell what it is. And he goes, now let's see it in slow motion. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever laughed at. All of us, it was just beyond belief. It looked like an Argentinian cowboy throwing a bolo thing, whatever those are called. It was like, whoa. And super slow-mo. Now, we're all dying. Mark's howling. We're all laughing so hard. And then our crew guy, one of our crew guys goes, well, they say the camera adds 10 pounds. And it's one of our favorite memories, but we lost the footage. Oh, we would kill to have that footage. Yeah. Oh.
Well, better for him.
So that's a good story.
The musical Hamilton. Did you see it?
The musical Hamilton?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What'd you think?
It was great. My sister won one of the tickets on lottery where you could do that. And it was just one ticket. So she said, why don't you go? Just go. So I went by myself, which was really cool to go see a play by yourself. Yeah. You don't deal with anything. You don't go have dinner. You don't. So I didn't get to see him. Yeah. But I got to see a great cast.
And great seats, like first 2 rows probably in the lottery.
Like the first 20 rows or something like that. And the Pantages is already so amazing. And like I said, I grew up with a real love for musical theater anyway. The cool part of musical theater. I was absolutely, by then I'd heard a lot. It would be interesting to see it without anyone telling you anything about it. But I was just stunned, completely moved. And, it was another extension of poetry changing the world and history and all that kind of stuff. So we all come from that anyway. But if anything, and this is just because I'm an aging baby boomer, I wish they could slow down a little bit so I could hear even more of it. Because I appreciate a good turn of a phrase and a good inner rhyme, and there's so much of it. It's so rich that I feel like, just personally, it's a disservice to his genius for it to flow by so fast. But I don't have the ear for rap like my kids. My kids could listen to it and hear every single word. So, as we get older,
maybe that's my problem. Yeah.
Because that's why you buy the soundtrack and you listen to it over and over again. And then you buy the book that explains everything. Yeah,
exactly. That's what you have to do.
And you watch the documentary and it's like, oh, now I get it.
And he's just amazing. He's just absolutely amazing. Wunderkind. So I really, really loved it. I just wished that I could have heard some of the words a little bit more clearly. You know, I sound like an old person. Why do you have to be so loud? Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
Oh, and also, we're all still really, really close with my sisters. They still perform. They're in their 70s, and they still perform, and they tour around the country, and we talk every day. I have a text thread with all 11 of us on it, and we talk every day.
That's
beautiful.
Called the Milkman's Kids, because my dad was a milkman before he was a college teacher. And it's great. So we're constantly comparing notes and saying, did you see that? And, you know, love you guys. And the 50th anniversary of my dad's death, we all wrote something, and we went to the cemetery and we all read. And the ones that weren't there sent it by email and watched on Facebook Live. And we all could be there. It was that's beautiful. Really amazing. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So we're all still really close, and we keep forging onward. So.
Well, great. Well, Kipp, thank you again so much.
If I wasn't too long-winded.
No, not at all. But wait, here's your prize for the questions.
Oh, wow.
That you answered. So
what is
in
it?
case you don't have it.
Oh my God.
It could be.
A good Danny Korchmar story about that.
Since she performed at the Fox Venice Theater, it's a Patti Smith. It's not a handbill, but it's like an original.
Yeah, original poster.
Poster.
No kidding.
From, I think, 1976.
Wow. Yep. That's going to go up on my wall.
As you can tell by the price of $3.50.
Yeah, no kidding.
To see her.
No kidding. Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
So there you go.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. Oh,
thank you again very much.
I forgot to mention how big of an influence Springsteen is on us, on me as a writer.
Well, everybody.
Yeah. And what a gentleman he was to us. We worked with him on the Lucky Town, Tunnel of Love, on those two albums at the same time.
I didn't know that.
And Roy Batten called us and said, you know, fair warning, he calls people in to work on every single album, and he almost never keeps anything, but he just likes to work with people. He likes to have people around. He said, so probably they're not going to use any of it. But if you want to do it, we'll pay you well, and you get to hang out. You know, so we went and we sang on a couple of songs, maybe Brilliant Disguise. I can't remember which songs, but it was absolute joy. I'm sure you've met him along the way or whatever, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy, could not have been more real. For us, it was exactly like hanging out with one of our friends, because he's so real.
I think everyone's kind of said that he's just.
But you know, that's not the real him though.
That's not the real him?
It's him. I mean, I don't even know the real him.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like Jackson, I think
Tom
also.
Hanks or something.
Yeah.
At some point,
it's like,
there's different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but as long as they're nice and polite, and it's like, give it the time of day. Cause I've met the others that are just complete assholes.
Yeah.
And it's I don't even want to say that I met you because you were such an asshole.
Right. But he was really great to us.
Grounded.
It was cool for him to just hand you his lyric book to sing off of instead of type, you know. And I'm looking at his scribbles and I'm just thinking, are you kidding me? And, you know, he lets you tease him. He's laughing. I said, you know, this is way better than Jesse's Girl. This is like really good, you know. And he, and at one point, everyone was waiting at one point for us to work on the next song. And we went in the vocal booth, we shut the door, we sat on the ground, and he wanted to talk to us about our career.
Wow,
tell me about your
really?
career. Tell me about what are you guys up to? Well, here's what I did. Here's what you need to try. Try doing this. Okay, but you know, sitting on the ground, everyone's waiting, like executives, everyone in the studio is waiting, and he's just sitting on the ground saying, now remember, and he's looking you right in the eye, and he's saying, you know, and do this, and you know, just so cool. And like a few weeks later, I was doing a session at A&M, and he was still working on his album. But it was a few weeks later. And we cross each other in the hallway, and he's down at the other end, and he goes, hey, Kipp. Like, you know, he doesn't have to remember my name. He doesn't have to. He was a good dude to us. So
yeah.
Did you see his play?
Yeah.
Wasn't that phenomenal?
Phenomenal. The part about Clarence Clemens was just
that part.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was in tears.
Yeah, I was in tears, you know, talking about his dad. Well, you can watch it on Netflix.
Well, I saw that, but I mean, I wanted to see it.
I want to get you guys sometime to come see the Pine Mountain Logs, because you'd really get a kick out of it. We do these crazy mashups, and we do a mashup of you know, that song "Melt with You" by Modern English.
Yeah.
You know, I stop the world and melt with you. Right. Well, organically, our mashups come from literally going like, "Hey, that kind of sounds like," and you just sing it. You know.
Yeah.
And so it goes into Born to Run, and I do Springsteen. Then it's Springsteen doing "Melt with You." And it is so hilarious. The audience is laughing so hard, and it's really, really fun. It's really cool. And it's getting better all the time, you know. But I'm kind of looking at the audience like, what the fuck?
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
And ma'am.
Thank you.
Legend.
Okay. a big thank you to Kipp.
What a nice gentleman. And we invaded his home. I accidentally spilled coffee.
What'd you spill, Reeds? I'm sorry.
My
I didn't hear
nitro
it.
cold brew.
How much did you spill?
Just a little bit.
On
but
where?
I don't know if it was on the table or on the floor.
I think it was both. I think you did a pretty good job.
And Kipp, was very helpful in cleaning that up.
It was like our second interviews. We were still practicing on the whole spilling.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was really cool about
love the band and, just great guys, and musically, artistically, make sure that you check them out. You can also check out the band at venice.theband.com, which is where you can check out where they're playing live. Always great live, and sample most of their albums.
Yep. And as I've said before, every episode we create show notes. And if you go to our website and you look up under each individual show, you will see all sorts of notes and links and videos and things like that of what we talked about. And one of the really cool stories that Kipp talks about is with David Gilmour, and when he's looking up at David and he's going to realize that David's going to sing the wrong lyrics. And that video is one of those links that's up there. So if you go to our show notes, you can find that and watch it and see how amazingly Kipp pulled it off and saved David Gilmour. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
And if you're listening and want to give back, please do so by rating our show, subscribing, and writing a review.
It's kind of like, if you Uber or Lyft, people really need your ratings on that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what this is. If you really enjoy it, we would really appreciate, saying, hey, give us like 5 stars or 10 stars. If you can give us 1,000 million stars, that would be awesome.
1,000 million would be how many?
Or tell your friends to do it too.
Yeah.
That would be awesome because,
Please share
that's
us.
one of these things that this is viral and we need to grow our brand, folks, kids.
Yeah. So, keep it up. We appreciate it. Again, our website is rockandrollconfessional.rocks. Check it out. And you can follow us and share us on Facebook and Instagram. So I think that's it, Reach, for right now.
Keep rocking.
Okay.
Keep believing.
Yeah.
Keep the faith.
Don't stop believing. Sing it.
And I believe in miracles.
I believe in miracles. Okay, bye.
Miracle is shutting the recorder off, man.